I never wanted to go back to the ocean. Even as a kid, the sound of waves made me think of something breathing just beneath them, waiting. But in 2023, I found myself sealed inside a titanium sphere, descending into the deepest pit on Earth, a Mariana Trench aboard the submersible Persephone. I was there as a biologist, part of a private expedition funded by a corporation that wanted to film the creepiest deep-sea discovery of all time. I told myself it was science, but deep down I knew it was greed. As the light faded, the pressure moaned against the hull, and every meter we dropped felt like falling into a throat that would never let us back up. The water outside turned from blue to black, then to something thicker than black, something alive. Our instruments flickered, sonar stuttered, and we began picking up strange rhythmic pulses below us. At first, we thought it was the echo of our own engines, but then it synced. To none of our machinery it was slower, deeper, like the heartbeat of something vast and ancient. The captain laughed. But it was the kind of laugh that's really a prayer. I pressed my ear against the cold steel wall and could swear I heard something moving outside, brushing the metal with a sound like wet leather dragging across glass. I whispered to the others that maybe it was a giant squid. No one replied. Hours passed before the sonar showed it clearly, a shape longer than a skyscraper, curled around the trench floor. We thought it was geological, a ridge, maybe volcanic. But as the sub's light beams swept across the seafloor, the ridge shifted. Slowly, the cameras trembled. The ridge opened one golden eye, the size of our viewport. Every screen went white for a moment, then static. The captain froze. Dr. Marin's hands shook so hard she dropped the sample jar she was holding. It floated up in slow motion, catching the dim emergency light. "It's impossible," she whispered. I wish she hadn't said that word, impossible, because right after she did, the shape uncoiled. It wasn't rock. It was a body, scales the size of car doors, colorless and glistening like oil. The sonar screamed with distortion as the creature rose, its head still lost in the darkness above. The sub trembled as a low-frequency vibration rolled through the water, rattling my bones. Then we heard the faintest hiss carried through the hull. It sounded like steam escaping from a vent, but it carried a pattern, a rhythm, almost a voice. The captain shouted to ascend, but the controls froze. Outside, something wrapped around the subcoil, smooth and immense, tightening slowly. I could feel the hull compressing, metal groaning like it was about to fold. The lights flickered again, and through the viewport, I saw its mouth. Not teeth, just a circular opening with layers of translucent skin folding inward like a flower made of muscle. Inside that ring, I saw what looked like tiny flashes. When I realized they were other creatures, maybe shrimp or fish, trapped inside its skin, still alive, I nearly vomited. The snake, if that's what it was, opened wider, and the water outside seemed to pulse with light from within its throat. The pressure alarms screamed. The captain tried to jettison ballast, but the system refused. I reached for the emergency beacon and hit transmit. Nothing. No signal. Only static. The snake's eye moved again, focusing directly on us. I felt something in my mind, like fingers pressing from the inside. Dr. Marin began to mutter nonsense names, numbers, fragments of prayers in languages she didn't know. Then she stopped, her eyes blank. The snake uncoiled a little, releasing us just enough that we started to sink faster down, past the trench floor. The instruments said we were below known depth limits. The walls of the trench had opened, revealing a fissure glowing with faint blue light. I thought it was hydrothermal venting, but the glow moved. It was more eyes. Dozens. Hundreds. The snake wasn't alone. When he woke up, I was floating. No sound, no light, just the hum of the emergency systems. The others were gone. The captain's harness was empty. Marin's headset drifted by, still whispering static that almost sounded like breathing. I turned toward the viewport, and there it was, again the eye, inches away, staring in. Only this time, it wasn't just one eye. Reflections filled the glass, each showing a slightly different version of me, older, younger, distorted, screaming silently. I blinked and saw a movement in the reflections, but I wasn't moving. I realized, with horror, that the glass wasn't reflecting anymore, it was showing. The creature was projecting memories, feeding them back to me. My family, my first dive, the accident I'd hidden from the company records all flickering across its gaze. It knew me. It understood me. Then, gently, a sound like a whisper filled the cabin. Stay. My lungs burned. I remember pressing the emergency ascent again and again until I blacked out. When primera camito, I was on the surface, floating among wreckage. The Persephone was gone. The ocean was calm, too calm, as if nothing had ever been there. A rescue ship found me hours later. They said I was delirious. They said there were no records of my dive, but I kept the recording chip I found embedded in my wrist display before I passed out. On it, real, untouched. A frame showing the trench, the light, and the unmistakable coil of something alive curling around the camera. Weeks later, I tried to show the footage to the Institute. They never returned my calls. My emails were deleted. A man in a gray suit came to my apartment and told me to stop talking. He said I must have interpreted pressure hallucinations. He smiled too long, like someone remembering a private joke. But I couldn't sleep. I started hearing the same low heartbeat I'd heard down below, echoing in my walls. In the pipes, I recorded it once. It played backward, forming words I couldn't understand, syllables that made my skin crawl. I began to see water seeping from under the floorboards. My fish tank shattered by itself one night, every drop of water pulling toward the drain as if obeying gravity from below. I thought I was losing my mind, until one night, I woke up choking, lungs full of salt water. When I ran to the bathroom, the mirror was fogged not from steam, but from breath. In the condensation, someone had written one word: return. I moved inland, hundreds of miles from the ocean. But every night, when I close my eyes, I feel pressure building around me again, and I hear the groan of metal deep inside my ears. Sometimes I wake up drenched, the bedsheets smelling of brine. Last week, I found a strand of something on my pillow, translucent, scaly, and slick. It pulsed faintly when I touched it. They say the ocean covers 70% of Earth, but I don't think that's true anymore. It doesn't just cover, it waits. The trench isn't a hole. It's a door, and something on the other side has opened it. That snake wasn't a monster. It was a guardian, maybe even a messenger, and whatever message it carried, it left inside me. I can feel it moving sometimes, under my ribs, like something coiling in slow circles. I've started hearing others' voices online, other divers talking about strange sonar readings, missing ships, shadows on deep-sea cameras longer than anything alive should be. They don't know yet, though what they're finding is all connected. When you listen closely to the sound of waves, really listen, beneath the crash and hiss, you'll hear it too. That slow pulse, that heartbeat, it's calling. It's always been calling. The creepiest deep-sea discovery of all time wasn't just what we soot, was what we became after seeing it. And I know soon, very soon, it's going to rise again. So if you're watching this, and you still think the ocean is just water, close this video now. Forget my voice. Forget my story. Because the moment you start imagining the dark beneath your feet, it's already listening. And when it finally looks back at you, it won't blink. The sea remembers every soul that's ever touched it, and it's coming to reclaim them. I can already hear it at my door, dragging something heavy across the floorboards, something wet. If you want to know what happens next, if you need to know how deep this darkness really goes, then don't look away. Find the next story on this channel. It's the one they tried to delete, the one that shows what happens when the deep finally reaches the shore. But don't say I didn't warn you, because once you press play, the sea will know your name.